In nature, life is governed not only by strength, but by a complex equation of energy and strategy. Every move is a choice between life and the end. Today, we will witness unique interactions that reveal the true face of the wilderness and how nature balances the scales in moments of extreme tension. Across the plains of dense vegetation, what one senses is not always what one sees. The lion has clearly detected its prey through scent, one of the most highly developed senses of the great cats, but the height of the grass has created a visual blind spot. He sniffs the air, moving his head in search of a silhouette, but the wildebeest remains motionless, perfectly camouflaged. A feline's detection system is extremely sensitive to movement. Thus, staying still can mean the difference between survival and the natural cycle. The moment the wildebeest attempts to flee, it loses its only advantage. The second the lion locks on to its exact position, all hesitation vanishes. The scent indicated food was near. This same dynamic of power and strategy plays out collectively in the Serengeti, Tanzania. This footage captures an emblematic moment, a female African buffalo committed to protecting her newborn calf from the persistent approach of a coalition of lionesses. The tension is palpable, with every move the mother makes calculated to position her massive body, which can weigh up to 900 kilograms, as a shield between the predators and her offspring. After a series of bypassed charges, the leader of the pride, Natira, steps onto the scene. The dynamic shifts immediately. The moment reaches its climax when a male lion joins the action. His presence is decisive. With superior strength, he finally manages to conclude the hunt while the lionesses focus on the calf. In slow motion, we see the sheer muscular power of this lion. Observe his technique as he uses his body weight to completely destabilize the adult buffalo's balance. The outcome is a representation of the harsh reality of the wild. However, numerical superiority does not always guarantee a meal. In marshy environments, the wildebeest proves that the terrain can be an ally. The setting is a shallow swamp, a terrain that at first glance seems disadvantageous for the herbivore, but ends up becoming its greatest defense. Even when surrounded and under direct pressure, the wildebeest doesn't just run. It uses sharp lunges with its horns and body weight to push the other animals back. Along the banks of African rivers, the serenity of the water often masks one of nature's most assertive temperaments. Although often portrayed as slow animals and peaceful herbivores, hippos hold the title of one of the most territorial animals on the continent, being responsible for more fatal incidents in Africa than lions, crocodiles, or any other large mammal. A recent recording captures the exact moment this safety line is crossed by a young buffalo. To a hippo, any unauthorized approach to its territory is interpreted as a direct threat. Unlike carnivores seeking food, the hippo acts to neutralize the intruder's presence. Once the interaction begins, the hippo rarely backs down until the individual is driven away or permanently expelled from its domain. The complexity of relationships on the savanna leaves room for opportunism or kleptoparasitism. What began as a successful hunt by a lone female African wild dog quickly transformed. After completing the difficult task against a female nyala, the hunter barely had time to enjoy the fruits of her labor. The noise of the struggle attracted not only a rival pack, but other heavy-hitting competitors. This is a common reality for wild dogs.
Despite being extremely efficient, they lose about 30% of their kills to other groups. At the edge of the Kela Dam, a Nile crocodile watched the commotion. They do not hesitate to leave the water when they detect an energy source on solid ground. The crocodile's entry changed the dynamic. Although they had the numbers, the wild dogs respected the powerful bite and natural armor of the reptile. An opportunist par excellence, a hyena took advantage of the distraction to secure a meal without the cost of direct combat. The scene ended with the reptile dragging the food into the water. In a single sequence, we witnessed 4 different species competing for the same resource, each playing to its strengths. Similar events of vulnerability occurred during the transition to the dry season in Kruger National Park. The receding waters and the increased density of animals in small mud pools created the perfect environment for what local guides described as one of the most audacious interactions of the season. The calf in the images, a male about 4 months old, showed signs of fatigue and a slight limp in its back left leg. However, the mother, demonstrating the intense protective instinct characteristic of hippos, intervened and managed to drive the reptiles away completely. The event lasted about 15 minutes.
The efficiency of a hunting strategy, on the other hand, depends on fractions of a second. In a rare close-up, we observe a lioness strategically positioned at the edge of a dirt road, using the elevated ground as a vantage point and natural camouflage. The critical moment occurs when a tsetse, in full sprint, crosses the predator's path. In a split second, the lioness launches her body in a perfectly calculated leap, demonstrating the extraordinary combination of muscular strength and coordination that defines big cats. After the takedown, other pride members, including a dominant male, approach to finish the process. The technique focuses on cutting off the flow of oxygen. The tsetse is known as one of the fastest antelopes in Africa, capable of reaching 75 kilometers per hour. However, contrary to what is usually imagined about the precision of big cats, what we see here is the complex and often frustrating reality of the solitary individual. When charging the group, the lion is faced with a flickering mass of stripes in frenzied motion. This phenomenon, known as the confusion effect, is the primary defense of zebras. When the predator cannot lock its gaze onto a specific target, a younger or stray individual, its chances of success drop drastically. The lion runs, but his energy is scattered among too many possibilities. In nature, the success rate of a lone lion's hunt is technically low, often no more than 15 to 20%. The physical toll is immense. Every burst of speed consumes precious energy reserves. A lion at top speed can reach 80 kilometers per hour, but only for short distances of up to 100 meters.
Back on the savannah, this spotted hyena learned a lesson while trying to usurp a resource won by another group, the African wild dogs. What makes this interaction particularly fascinating is the reversal of the usual power dynamic.
Across the vastness of the Serengeti Plains, the coexistence of predators is defined by an ancient rivalry where dominance and territorial protection are fundamental to survival. A striking capture from the Maasai Sightings channel shows the exact moment a male lion belonging to the Saba Bora coalition interrupts the rest of a hyena clan with a sudden charge. With the help of his coalition brother, the action results in the neutralization of one hyena, sending a clear message of danger to the rest of the clan. Lions and hyenas share the same ecological niche, leading to constant competition for resources. Controlling or intimidating hyenas is a vital strategy for lions. Beyond reducing competition, it protects the younger members of the pride, who are often targets of the hyena's cunning. An interesting fact is that this specific group of lions gained international fame for defeating the legendary Bob Jr., once the most famous lion in the Serengeti. In the sweeping plains of the Masai Mara in Kenya, the dynamics between large carnivores reveal themselves in all their complexity. We observe a high-tension moment. A clan of spotted hyenas surrounds a lone lioness after a successful hunt. Hyenas are known for their intelligence and highly organized social structure. In the video, the characteristic sound of their giggles indicates excitement during the social interaction. They use the strength of their numbers to intimidate the lioness, trying to force her to abandon her meal. This behavior, known as Kleptoparasitism, is a common strategy on the savanna, where stealing another predator's kill can be less risky than hunting for oneself. The balance of the ecosystem depends on these natural interactions.
This footage captures one of the most remarkable and rare moments of wildlife in sub-Saharan Africa. The fragility of a giant before a persistent opportunist. Moments before this scene, the hippopotamus reportedly had an adverse encounter with a black mamba. About 40 minutes later, the natural effects of the mamba's venom began to limit the large herbivore's mobility. The hippo showed signs of losing its balance, its breathing became deep, and it finally gave in to exhaustion on the arid ground. This attracted the local patrol, the spotted hyenas. Before we continue exploring these extraordinary encounters, please give this video a like. This helps the algorithm understand that educational wildlife content deserves to reach more people. Thank you. A leopard, while resting in a tree, two male lions, aware of its presence and intent on claiming the space, wait alertly for any movement. In a quick, calculated move, the leopard leaps from the tree, slicing through the air with gravity-defying mastery. In a matter of seconds, the feline vanishes into the tall grass, leaving the lions to do nothing but watch. Although lions possess superior physical strength, the leopard's adaptability and dexterity allow it to thrive in an environment of constant challenges.
Under the open skies of the African plains, life is a constant balancing act between the urgency of the hunter and the vulnerability of the young. It was late afternoon in the Ruaha Reserve in Tanzania when a memorable interaction took place. A small group of elephants, led by an experienced matriarch, approached one of the few remaining waterholes in the riverbed. Suddenly, a Nile crocodile measuring nearly 4 meters long broke the surface. The crocodile's weight and sheer force tried to drag a young elephant named Kelechi into deeper water. As expected, Kelechi survived, walking away from the encounter with a few scars on her trunk, marks that for the rest of her life would serve as a constant reminder of the dangers lurking at the water's edge. The Okavango Delta and along the banks of the Luangwa River, survival depends less on brute force and more on strategic positioning. In this sequence, a spotted hyena finds itself in a vulnerable position after isolating itself in search of food. In a tactical error, it exposed itself on open ground, becoming the center of a critical standoff. The danger didn't arrive with growls, but with high-pitched chirps, the sophisticated communication of African wild dogs. 7 individuals formed a semicircle using mobbing techniques to disorient the hyena. At the water's edge, the scene became even more complex. The vibration of the dispute attracted a 4-meter Nile crocodile waiting for the perfect moment to intervene. The breaking point came with a sudden lunge from the crocodile. By attempting a quick strike, the reptile forced a chain reaction. The moment the dogs retreated to avoid the giant, the hyena saw its opening. With a burst of energy, it broke through the circle and sought refuge in the dense brush. On the savannah, survival means knowing the exact moment a challenge becomes an opportunity. We conclude then that nature operates under the logic of absolute necessity.
The scene by the edge of this lake seemed like the quintessence of safari tranquility. This olive baboon, driven by the need for food or water, makes a critical error. He ignores the danger hidden beneath the surface. In a split second, the piece is shattered. The primate has quick reflexes, but physics is not on his side. Once the jaws clamp down, the tactical advantage shifts instantly from solid ground to the reptile's aquatic domain. The crocodile's goal is not to neutralize with pressure, but to drown. Watch how it uses its weight and the power of its tail to drag the prey to the bottom, denying him oxygen. For the baboon, panic accelerates air consumption, while the cold-blooded reptile operates with brutal metabolic efficiency. It is a test of endurance that the mammal cannot win in this element. There is no waste in nature. The energy of one life is transferred to sustain another in a cycle indifferent to the individual. Thousands of kilometers away, in the Gir Forest, the last bastion of Asiatic lions, we witness a clash between two worlds, the wild and the domestic. The scene defies natural hierarchy. A 150-kilogram lioness corners a stray dog, an urban intruder in a wild ecosystem. Biology dictates that the dog should flee, an act that would immediately trigger the feline's hunting instinct. But panic induces an extraordinary reaction. The dog chooses intense defense. This break in the pattern creates a short circuit in the lioness's logic. She no longer sees an easy meal. She sees a noisy, unpredictable problem that is not worth the energetic effort. The dog survives, not through strength, but through sheer audacity.
The tiger, with its pattern of vertical stripes, dissolves its silhouette into the shadows of dry vegetation and the contours of rugged terrain. For this bovine, a domestic animal that evolved under human protection and had its alert instincts dampened, the risk remains imperceptible until the critical distance is breached. Observe how the reaction time is excessively slow for the demands of the wild. The prey only realizes the feline's presence when it is already less than 1 meter away. The predator uses its own body weight as an anchor, launching itself at the animal's flank to destabilize its center of gravity. The bovine attempts to resist, but the tiger's mechanical advantage is absolute. It executes a precise movement of physical leverage. Its immediate objective is the cervical region. The technique aims to neutralize breathing, ensuring the interaction ends as quickly as possible. When domestic cattle enter the territory of a super predator, they become a high-return, low-energy cost source of calories. For this group of impalas, quenching their thirst is a high-risk strategy. Observe their body language, ears capturing every vibration, muscles tensed and ready for flight. In nature, silence rarely means peace. The calm is shattered when a leopard, the ghost of the undergrowth, materializes out of thin air. But the acoustic chaos of the event serves as an alarm for other opportunists. The water, which seemed like a passive resource, reveals its own apex predator. Nile crocodiles emerge with intense acceleration. Unwittingly, they achieve the impossible. They frighten off the leopard, unintentionally saving the prey from the feline's claws. A triangle of interaction where the target escapes because two hunters collided in the same instant in the same space. In a recording that captures nature's unfiltered and unpredictable side, we observe a scene, likely in the Philippines, where the unwitting protagonist is a gray and white cat, passing by casually. Just below, in a vertical ascent up a moss-covered wall, is a large reticulated python. The moment of peak tension occurs when the feline crosses the roof, passing just centimeters from the serpent's head. The observers, expressing a mix of apprehension and relief, note that the cat seems oblivious to the danger. Pythons are ambush predators that rely on stillness and sudden capture. They frequently inhabit drainage channels and urban structures in search of rodents and occasionally domestic animals. The cat's safety in this encounter can be attributed to biological variables. The snake may have been in a period of metabolic rest.
On a road in Russia, an encounter takes place that is a true clash between two worlds. A wild wolf comes face to face with a Doberman. The Doberman, a symbol of strength and vigilance bred for protection, agile and loyal, is a dog trained for guarding, not for physical resilience against ancestral predators. The wolf, on the other hand, is the personification of raw instinct, a skilled hunter. The engagement is quick, but the result is unexpected. The wolf decides to release the Doberman and retreats. The dog remains on the ground, panting, but recovers after re-establishing itself.
This video captures precisely one of those moments. A crocodile spotted in waters too shallow to hide its form, and young lions, recognizing an opportunity, or perhaps responding to a territorial instinct, surround the reptile. The first strategic error belongs to the crocodile. It is exposed, vulnerable in a way its species rarely experiences. Observe the formation of the felines. They move in a way that forces the crocodile to rotate continuously to keep every threat within its field of vision. And here is the science behind it. Reptiles do not possess aerobic endurance comparable to high metabolism mammals. Every defensive rotation, every lunge, every second of muscle tension burns through limited energy reserves and produces lactic acid that their systems cannot efficiently dissipate. It is literally drowning metabolically in its own stress response. But the crocodile is no easy prey. A single strike from that jaw can break a feline's front leg, and on the savanna, where hunting requires total mobility, a crippled lion is a condemned lion.